We're speaking to Arwin John this morning. He is the founder of Malaysian Paranormal Research. Good morning, Arwin. Thank you so much for speaking to us on the LITE Breakfast.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here. It's my pleasure.
Now, I guess the first question that everyone asks you when you said that you are the founder of the Malaysian Paranormal Research and you are the only investigator in this entity, what got you interested in investigating or researching for ghosts and spirits?
As a kid, I used to see strange lights hovering and going in between walls, and it kind of piqued my interest. And on top of that, I was wondering, like, what is the purpose of life? Like, you come and you live and then you die and that's it. Like, I mean, are we going to see our loved ones? And because if life is that short, we just don't feel like justified. Right, so I wanted to set on a path to like find out what exactly life's purpose and if there's anything beyond that. So that kind of like brought me into this whole paranormal research field to seek out answers.
Wait, what do you mean you saw lights going between walls? Is this at home?
Yes, it's like a ball of light, right? But it darted right through a solid wall, concrete wall, and I was like just puzzled by it, and I was like beginning to wonder, how is that even possible?
Is this a one-time occurrence, or have you seen this multiple
It
times?
happened like about maybe like 2-3 times. Yeah.
Really?
When you were a child?
Yes, when I was a kid. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But what's your ultimate purpose when you go for these ghost investigation and ghost hunting? Is it to prove that they exist, or are you helping?
The part about proving whether they exist, I've gotten my answers in terms of their existence. What we are trying to further do is trying to bridge the gap between this life and the other life. Trying to get more information from the other side, trying to make contact with them, do some method-based research to find some vital information regarding what's happening on the other side. Whether is it a mirror of this current world we are living in right now. So all these kind of questions.
Have you found the answer?
It's an ongoing learning process. We are of course gathering answers, but it's such a big field of research that I don't think there's ever an end point to this.
So in your mind, there's no doubt that the spirit world exists?
Yes.
Wow. But I mean, looking at your profile, you have a very interest in a lot of different areas. Besides being a paranormal investigator, you're also a gamer, you're a writer, you're a graphic designer, also a professional photographer. What interests you the most?
I'm like one of those people that try to put my feet in too many things and never really see the end of the light. But yeah, I'm very passionate with things that I usually do. So if I don't like what I'm doing, I usually won't even bother to do that. So besides paranormal research, I love playing video games because it kind of like enlightens you. You get to see the other people's perspective, culture, and all that through reflecting through video games. And for any other hobbies as well, that's always like mutual connection going on.
What did you want to be growing up?
I always wanted to be a graphic designer, believe it or not. And but ultimately it was always about finding out truth about paranormal and all these things that go bump in the night. I always like go on an adventure and experience things that normal people usually won't, and find out what exactly is the cause, the root of it, try to document that and provide proper evidence to the public and let them judge it based on their own understanding. So that's kind of like my main purpose actually growing up.
Do you not get scared though?
As a kid, yes, I was extremely afraid. Actually, fun fact, I used to be afraid going to toilets at night.
By yourself?
My dad would just like make a joke saying that something is looking at you, and I'll just run back. So this used to happen until I was at quite an age of 14. It was like one of the worst case scenarios for being someone who's afraid of everything. But eventually, that became my my profession and passion.
So what, at 14, did something really start staring back at you in the toilet or what?
Eventually, no. I would love that, but the thing is that understanding. When I build my understanding on what exactly spirits are, when you understand the psychology and you understand what they are capable of doing and what they are not capable of doing, you kind of like burst the bubble of fear, and you look through those things and you kind of like have a very different perspective on what you have been thinking about it before. Like spirits are like negative and dangerous and all these things, but then when you go and experience this for yourself, you realize that's not actually the case. It's
So,
far from it.
what are spirits then? Like, what are they doing on
Here.
Earth? Like, do
Right,
most of them have unfinished business before they move on to the other world, or
right.
why are they still here?
As far as I can tell you, right, the spirit realm or whatever they want to call it is actually it's just a reflection of our world, like what we are right now. No difference, just that they're no longer bound to physical rules as we are. Like we are physically able to do this touch. For them, it's more on the spiritual side of things. Like being in this electromagnetic field spectrum and being able to manipulate the energy surrounding it and try to get in touch with other spirits or human beings. But the reason why they're usually there is because of one of them is because unresolved issues.
Okay.
Okay, because when you die, you don't realize you're dead. It's like you close your eyes and you open and you're still there, and it takes a lot of time to process that. Like normal folks who are not well versed on these so-called afterlife studies, they usually found themselves to be a bit on how do you say, like your own belief system and all that things. When things doesn't go the way you think it's gonna go, that and realization is not there, so you tend to like just do the same things you used to do when you're still alive, until one day you realize that no one is responding to you, unless like some weird guy like me comes and talks to you and try to record things on camera and stuff like that. So you kind of like wander there around, until you're able to like let go of things and just move on. But moving on where, and that is beyond the scope of what we're able to gather so far. We're only able to go this much.
Because in the movies, it's all like they usually see a light, and then if they miss the light, then they're stuck here, right?
like
in the movies, is
I
it?
can assure you there's no such thing. There's no such thing as lights. Most likely, loved ones who have probably crossed over, they usually will come and guide you or help you. But that's about it.
Right.
Wow.
No lights. There's no this people playing harps of music for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so in your mind, to your understanding, they just don't realize that they've passed on.
Yeah,
These
some of
spirits.
they don't realize, but some they do realize, but they choose to be around. Let's say maybe they have a lot of strong bond and connection with someone. They can't move on, so they just like hang out a bit, wait for that person to like die, and then they probably cross over together. Things like that also happen, and of course, emotional factors in a lot as well. If you're a very emotional person, you probably die. You'll be like burdened by them as well. You'll be like you feel like a heavy weight of like I don't know, mixture of guilt or whatever that is that you have done previous life or in your this one. So it carries over there. It doesn't just dissolve and all of a sudden you get reset, rebirth or whatever. No, you have to eventually go through all these things, which is why sometimes we always say it's better to resolve things while you're alive than you're dead.
But not all spirits are evil.
No. Evil. The term evil is just the same way we would use at human beings. You gotta know that. Like for example, if you are a murderer, and probably when you die, you're probably going to be the same person you are. You're not going to recklessly change and become a good person or whatsoever. So the same thing applies for spirits. Like when we talk about spirits, often it's like the negative side. Oh, it's dangerous. It's not. But to be honest, that's not the case.
All right. So most spirits who pass on would stay on because most people are good. That means they become good spirits in a way, and they're just stuck here. But then there are some who are just nasty and throw stuff like poltergeists and whatever. Why do they do that? Are those still spirits or people who passed on, or are those like some lembaga, as they used to say? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Poltergeist is actually it's a German word. It's called noisy spirits.
Yeah.
So what exactly happens is that they are able to manipulate objects to move and all that. So that requires a lot of focus, attention, and practice. But the thing is, poltergeist activity is as rare as finding a needle in a haystack.
Oh, serious? Oh.
You can go on your life, you probably will never ever come across one of it. So it's extremely rare. So for them to do such activities, it requires a huge amount of strength, energy, from surrounding location. Like there's a certain place where there's like disturbance in geomagnetic field that could also trigger this kind of events as well. So for example, the spirit probably will be doing certain activities at that time, but due to high geomagnetic field interference, what they're doing physically affect the things in our world. So therefore, unintentionally, certain object may move, but they may not realize that. So it's
Right.
like
Oh.
our world is like an onion. Like you peel the skin, there's so many layers. It's something like that. So during the right geomagnetic field condition, when solar storm happens and all these things, ions are charged and all that, you may experience things overlapping into our world. For example, you might see a car that's suddenly appear out of nowhere and just disappear. Is that a spirit? No, it probably could be like what we used to say like parallel dimension, things like that, overlapping into our realm for a split second, just due to the weather conditions.
Interesting. So there is a science behind all this.
There is, but like I said, sometimes it's a very gray area. People can easily, make it sound bizarre, but it's something, one of those things you have to experience and to be able to understand it, because it does sound like straight out of a sci-fi film,
Yeah.
right? When I was like first got into this theory and all, I was like, no, like this is some crap, right? But then over time, you start gathering data, time slips, and all this thing does happen, and eventually you get to a point where you understand that there is more than not just spirits, but overlapping dimensions as well. Like in photographs, we capture a certain building that's there, but in reality, it's not there. Something like that.
How long have you been doing this?
I've started in 2007, so I guess
Wow.
it's been a while.
Over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Like, share with us one of your most terrifying experiences with the spirit world.
Experiences. Actually, to be honest, I haven't had terrifying experiences, but I can say that I do have a certain moments where it kind of like took some time for me to sit down and dissect what actually just happened. Like one of those things is Kelly's Castle. Kelly's
I,
Castle.
I just told her about this.
That's in Ipoh, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Thing is that I have a special bond with this Kelly's Castle because as a kid, my mom used to bring me there every single weekend. Just play there. And while all the kids were playing, I'll be just sitting down there and just looking at that castle, like what's inside there, like what happens here at night, and and when my age hit around 19, I was the first person that was actually given the permission to go inside Kelly's Castle and investigate. The first person in Malaysia. So I did it, and I managed to experience seeing an European man appearing out of nowhere with 75% silhouette looking, and he was so tall that I had to look up. But guess what? There's no feet down there. It's almost
Right.
very blurry, but you can feel the presence. You can actually look at the figure that's forming like smoke, and right after a couple of seconds, it began to discharge. And eventually it became like a small ball of light and darted through. You see, and that was when I also realized that balls of light, or what we call ops, basic energy signature appearances of the spirit.
Right.
So,
At that point, did you have any camera or any recording device with you? No.
recording device I had, but not in my hand, because my techniques, I'll put a video camera at a certain location where I feel it's active, and I'll let it run, and I'll just walk away. Because if we are around with camera, most likely it's because we're going to attract mosquitoes.
Oh,
Yeah, so a lot of amateur paranormal investigators will usually attract all this kind of nonsense, and then they'll post videos that looks like ghosts, but eventually it's probably just a mosquito or a fly.
right.
So that's one thing. So no.
So was that the first time that you actually saw a spirit, a silhouette of a
Yes.
spirit?
Yes, correct. So that was one of those things that kickstarted my burning fuel to go ahead and go other places like Pudu Prison was a fantastic place. I experienced a lot of things there. Jail cells are moving by themselves, especially very heavy cells. And seeing light, seeing apparition forming right in front of my eyes. That was one of those fantastic moments I've had in Pudu Prison. And that was also captured in video as well. it forms like from like a very thick smoke-like substance appearing actually on command. Like I was like doing a small talk and saying that would like to appear in front, and right after not even 6-7 seconds, it began to form in front of the camera, and all of a sudden the environment temperature was extremely cold, and static. Your hair started to stand, and it was.
Was that the most haunted place you've been to, Pudu Prison?
Yes, probably, yeah.
Do you have to have a special ability to be able to
no.
see these entities?
Like a third eye or something?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, no. I mean, I'm not that special or anything, But one thing I can give you a tip though. When you're extremely fearful, you're afraid, 99.9% there's no spirits there.
Right. It's just you freaking out over nothing.
Right. Because when spirits are around, you will react to it as if there's some crowded folks in your house. You won't feel alone. So usually when people go to certain places, they'll tell, "Oh my God, I feel like this." I would like, oh, okay, whatever. But if someone goes there and they say suddenly, I feel like like house, like bit warmly. That is when I begin to take them seriously, and okay, I'll probably come over there.
Right.
Those are those two things I look for. So usually there's go.
No, because I've actually done this. I've actually gone looking for these things. Somebody told me like this road has a lot of these kind of stuff. So I went there and nothing happened because it's usually people feeling a lot of stuff and then there's nothing really there, right?
Exactly. Like 9 times out of 10, it's nothing.
Okay, so can you tell us again, like what are the signs to look out for? Because you were saying, an orb of light, and then you get a bit cold,
right.
And your the hairs on your bodies will stand up.
Right.
What other signs can we look out for where you know that there's a spirit present?
Okay, first of all, stray emotions and thoughts. A spirit can communicate with you. Doesn't have to be verbal communication. They can actually communicate with you through emotion, feelings, and all this kind of thing. So if, let's say you are completely all right, all of a sudden you're getting like a certain mental image appearing inside your head, like not your imagination kind of stuff, but something out of the blue. So that is something that could be a spirit trying to communicate. Number 2, of course, temperature drops. Extreme temperature drops, like about 5 to 6 degrees Celsius lower than your normal surrounding temperature. And of course, static hair. Because like I said, spirit, they can manipulate the environment. So what we are feeling is just the after effects of those environmental changes, not the presence of spirit, but the environmental changes because of the spirit is absorbing the energy around you. And of course, the other thing is that hearing noises, sounds, or someone talking, whispering, that, and of course, poltergeist, if you happen to see any objects moving, obviously. And another thing would be interference of signal in your house. Like example, like handphone signal goes off like without any this one, your TV shuts off. So yeah, that's also known things to happen. High magnetic field, but of course we have to like disprove the magnetic field first of based on checking your surrounding. If there's any cell phone towers, all that. After that only we'll have to like do this one. So yeah. Very much.
Interesting.
Are you freaked out?
A little bit. I don't know, like how what do you mean by like them controlling our emotions? So if you suddenly feel like you were happy and then you suddenly feel sad, that might be
probably, yeah.
a sign.
Objectively, like for example, I mean, of course, we don't always take that, but because I mean, haven't we all like feel so good and all of a sudden feel like crap,
Yeah.
You start listening to music and then.
You'll be
that's,
better.
That's that. But if this thing happens, let's say if you're going to certain places, like out of the blue, that means like for example, it hits you right in the face, kind of emotional feeling. Like like what if how would you react if suddenly someone tells you that someone passed away? Like that kind of
right
strong gut feeling. Yeah, that is something to look for. As a paranormal investigator, when I go to places, that's one of those things that I really pay attention to, is how I feel right before I enter, because I've been to places feeling so fantastic. After putting this few steps, entering inside, all of a sudden feeling unwanted, feel like any further step you're probably going to feel like nausea, you're going to vomit. But right after taking a few steps back, that feeling just goes away.
And
Yeah,
it's not anyone can feel it. It's not just because you are.
yeah, exactly. Anyone can feel it. Doesn't require you to be sensitive or whatsoever.
Right.
So vertigo,
Okay.
a lot of these things can.
Have you ever been like followed home by a spirit after an investigation? That's one thing that I worry about with people who go out there and look for
Right.
trouble.
Or what
I
if we
guess.
hang out with people who go look for trouble? They might be there.
Well, the thing is that my years of research, right? Following home and all that, no, none. Asking for help, yes. Following home, no. Occasionally popping in to say hi, yes. The thing is,
Wait, what do you mean?
You have friends?
I've been like you see. The thing is that my place is kind of like it used to be a very humble place until I started investigating all this nonsense and stuff, and eventually my room kind of like became like a pit stop. Occasionally, I'll can hear certain things happening around, but the thing is, spirits don't follow you home. You have to understand that they don't. It's like if you go to someone's house, right? What are the chances that person is going to follow you? Like I don't know, man. Like maybe like there's certain characteristics in you. Like maybe that person is a former stalker. Then I guess maybe yeah. But to be honest, no. They have like so many important things they have to go about and do. Then they could care less about following anyone home. They don't. So, but of course, as you begin to open yourself to all these activities and all that, eventually you may or may not experience one or two little things that happening in your house.
Is it because your house is haunted or because of you?
No, because of me. So because the thing is, I've done electronic voice recording for a very long time, to the extent that spirits know when I'm about to talk, when I'm about to do the session. So they'll usually pop in, say a few words, like you see, one of the funny things is that I was in a Chinese cemetery 8 years ago doing audio recording, right? And exactly from that 1 week, exactly from that day, which I was telling to the spirits I'll be back to do audio recording, and the spirit said next week's Merdeka.
The spirit said that.
Yes, and guess what? It was August, man. Next week, the same date actually falls on 31st as well. So that's that. So like occasionally when they kind of like get to know your voice and all that, you will not feel fear. There's nothing. You feel actually just like a two-way headphone walkie-talkie kind of like talking experience that happens.
So how do you start a conversation with
Just
them?
the way I'm talking to you guys, like just tell your intentions, your thoughts, emotion, and of course, if you're feeling any emotional stress, do not do any of those things. Not because the spirit is going to attack you or anything, but it's just that communication won't happen. It requires a lot of focus and repetition of doing a certain thing at the same time every single day. You're not going to simply do this for a couple of weeks and then suddenly someone's going to come in and say hi. No, doesn't work that way. It works like through years and years of repetition of doing the same thing at the same time. So people, the deceased people knows that around that time you'll be doing these things, and they'll be more than happy to actually take part in our investigation and all that, and share whatever knowledge they can.
It's because that you seem friendly to them, that
Trustworthy.
that you can talk to them. You're not going to harm them in a way, right?
Before I do any investigation, I always go there in daytime and tell my intentions and everything. Just the way how I treat them, the way I would treat a human being. That's the secret.
Okay. Well, you said earlier that you've helped spirits.
Yes,
In
correct.
what way?
Help as in telling them that they are dead. Some of them they don't realize they're dead, but they try to talk, and all of a sudden one day someone talks back to them. They are like shocked, and believe it or not, some of the spirits are actually still doing the same thing they used to do. Activities like drinking coffee and all these things are still ongoing, because I was also recording a few of those things, and I also got a audio recording that says awas kopi panas, careful hot coffee. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of these funny things happen during audio recording session, and I even did a minor singing in the cemetery, and all of a sudden the EMF meter starts to go haywire. I stopped, the light stopped, and I said, do you want me to continue? And then the light went and spiked, and then it went like an ongoing conversation to the extent that like it lasted for about an hour, and all of a sudden we saw like a ball of light hovering and just shooting away, going through all these things. So a lot of these kind of things you can experience, like you just need some time and patience.
Wow.
I'm still shocked that you don't get scared or that something bad might happen to
It would
you.
be a lie if I said I'm not afraid, but to be honest, I'm afraid more of the living and the surrounding, the snakes and all this kind of nonsense that's in all these places that I used to go. Spirits, to be honest, no. Location looks scary, yeah, because we all watch movies. It's a natural reaction when you go to certain places, but I think it's good to have a little fear once in a while. It keeps you on the edge on what's happening. You're like more sharpened, and but to be honest, because of spirits fear, no, that's never really the case.
Actually, on that, since you mentioned movies, right? Because if you watch movies, I know these are all dramatized and everything. Because in exorcisms and whatever, right, they had to speak in a certain language. So if you watch a Western movie, they speak in Latin and everything. But if it's a Chinese horror movie, they all speak in Chinese, right?
Right.
How do you communicate with the spirits here? In what language?
I believe language barrier only exists for the living, not for the deceased. Why? I do not know. But somehow they'll be able to understand whatever that I'm trying to convey. Emotionally, mentally, telepathically, or whatever. They are still able to respond back. English or Malay or whatever language they're used to, like depending on the soul. But
Yeah, because you were at the Chinese cemetery, but
Exactly.
you weren't speaking
Exactly.
Chinese, right?
Exactly. It was pretty much English, the kind of language that I know. So even Indian, I've been to like live cremation session in Ipoh, and I've actually did a lot of recording of live cremations as well. And it's funny that the spirits are still around their body.
Are they looking at themselves or
They
what?
look at themselves. Some of them they do. They look at themselves. They moan, and while some are just like chit chatting. Rest assured, usually they are still around there. Because I've seen them, I've heard them, I've recorded them on video. And it's quite an experience.
Wow. Listening to your stories is quite an experience, something which I think I will be happy to just live vicariously through your stories. Now, Arwin, what do your friends and family think of this ghost investigating pastime of yours, or job, actually, your career?
At first, they looked at me as if like I'm some lunatic, like crazy guy. I did crazy things, but once I started like be able to summarize things and present in proper scientific ways, earn certain recognition from overseas peers, and did all these things and appearing on media and all these things, and became more being able to like share things through certain website or platform. They begin to like change their perspective on what things are. They begin to like get interested in this. And yeah, but my parents were extremely supportive. That's one thing. And whatever I did, my mom just said, but yeah, do whatever you want, as long as you don't bring these things home.
No, I was just about to say that, right?
Typical, right? Like,
Yeah.
say that. But yeah, the funny thing is I keep all my gadgets and everything right beside my prayer room, because I got no place for anywhere else to keep. And it's quite funny, each time my mom goes in to do her prayers and all things, she'll be like looking at my equipments at one side, I'm like, okay, no mind, let's focus on my prayers. Because usually you go to all these places and all that. Yeah, but eventually everyone accepted me for what I like to do and all that.
Because you still live with your parents, right?
Yes, I do.
So you said once in a while they'll pop in to ask you for help or whatever it is, right? Has your family experienced anything because of what you do?
No. The thing is that you kind of like reinforce certain rules, like when you are here, you gotta do the way I do, or else, it doesn't go that way. You have to like do that. Like for example, like if anything, I want to try to communicate, and it's gotta happen to me when I'm around, not when I'm not around or anyone. No. So yeah, no, never.
All right.
Right.
Now, for those who are listening and they want to become like you, a paranormal researcher,
Right.
what characteristics or what kind of qualities must they have?
Okay. First of all, open-mindedness. Number two, willing to take your time and effort to actually read a lot of these books and understand them. Third, apply it practically, and of course, have a proper, strict scientific protocols being followed and all that. So that your evidence is presentable in a proper scientific manner. So those are literally the things. And of course, a little courage helps along the way.
So you're essentially a scientist.
I wouldn't call that. I mean, that's such a big word, but no, But what I can say is that we're just trying to enforce scientific methods into our research. So yeah, no, we are not scientists. But of course, I've written a book called Ghost Research Manual, which you can purchase at my website at MalaysianParanormalResearch.org, which can kickstart you on a journey on how to be a proper paranormal investigator and how to start up, without spending money on a lot of unnecessary gadgets and all that.
Interesting. Something you might want to explore, JD.
I do, because can I be I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
I have tried, because I believe in things like this, right? And I don't know, because Bel says I'm a bit foolhardy in doing this. I will go to all these haunted places to see what's going on, because I've heard people have told me this place is haunted and everything, go and check it out. So I go and my face is like this. I'm very excited. I want to see things, but nothing ever happens. Am I doing something wrong? Are the spirits looking at me and going, this guy is nuts, stay away from him? Am I too eager?
All right. First of all, without naming the location, what kind of location do you usually go to?
I've gone to
places where people say it's haunted, right?
Stretches of road where there are a lot of accidents, whatever.
Okay, how about this? Try to look for places like jail cells.
Okay.
Try to go to places where there's traumatic incident that happened, like people got hung or that kind of things, where like a war museum, these kind of places. So it's more easier.
Yeah.
Because like I said, ghost research is like fishing.
Yeah.
You could go, you set up everything you want, spend 30 days or a month there, probably just capture something in a camera, a couple of seconds. That's about it.
Right.
You have that ongoing evidence keeps coming in. You have to be doing this for a very long time. Like I said, repetition and being there at the same place at the same time.
Yeah. So
for someone who's once in a while finding out these kind of things, I would suggest to up your game. Go to all this, if you can get the permission, of course, go to those places where they hang all this.
Right.
People,
the prisoners and all.
Yeah, that kind of places. So immediately you can able to feel certain things there.
Because I've felt things, but I don't know whether, because feelings are very relative. I don't know whether what I'm feeling is, because you say do it methodically, do it scientifically in a way, right? So feelings is very hard to gauge, right? So I remember going to the Berlin Wall, right? And I suddenly felt wow, this place, I feel very heavy. But then it might just be the area, and then you read about the history, and then you just feel very sad or whatever it is, right? So yeah, I don't know whether it's real or not.
That's where some of these scientific gadgets comes in to back you up. Not just you're feeling what based on what you've read and then all that coming into play. So simple things like thermometer, that can able to read your ambience, and of course static detectors. And because it's hard to justify certain things without a proper gadgets.
Yeah.
You need to say that there's this, there's that, right? But it requires a lot of practice and experience to actually be able to rectify those things. But to be honest, it's worth taking notes of those emotions that you felt at which location, pinpoint, and then move on. Try it, and are you feeling the same thing when you're away from that place? And then you go back there, you experiment. Are you getting back there? Are you picking up those emotional trails again? So those are the things that I usually like to do. So for example, if I'm going to a certain spot, I felt dreadful, what I'll do, I'll immediately back off and see how many seconds does it take for the emotional feelings to fade away. Usually almost immediately. If it's always lingering around until the end of the thing, it's most likely not.
So it's happy, sad.
Yeah, it could be happy, it could be
Sad.
sad, it could be like, all kinds of mixed up.
Anger or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, anger. Like, for example, if a spirit wants to communicate and tell you what exactly happened here, they can actually be able to reincarnate. I mean, not reincarnate. Oh my God, that's a bad word. Being able to recreate a certain feeling, so you can pick up those emotional
I
traits.
see.
So you may feel like you're getting strangled up, and you feel like you're being, I don't know, like certain pain in your physical area, like we call phantom pains.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, pains that are not there. So those kind of things
Heard
all
of that.
can be experienced sometimes, depending on the how emotionally charged the place is. Like, so that's why I usually recommend places where any emotional trauma to takes place. Like, for example, like historical war sites, war graves.
Hmm.
Like,
Or like a murder scene or something like
Yeah.
right,
that.
exactly. Like, for example, if you have the chance to go to Gettysburg in United States, that's
Yeah.
fantastic places as well. And yeah,
Wow.
But generally, don't go to one of these places with a stupid smile on your face like I did, lah. Right?
you never know who you might pick up along the way, right?
Now, Arwin, like as a paranormal researcher, what would you say to someone who do not believe that spirit exists?
I mean, I can understand the perspective of why people say they don't believe in things, because it's not as easy as like show yourself in shows, right? I've been there. I've been in that position before I realized it wasn't. So all I would say is that the only way to find the truth is that go on a journey by yourself. Don't rely on any paranormal investigators or any TV shows or any documentaries or any books. I mean, use your books as a guidance on how to investigate the field of research, but do it yourself. That's the only way. Like, no amount of talking or telling you is going to change you. You gotta like experience this for yourself until you see it face to face, and then you have a certain impact in your life and you change. Until that something like that happens, it's good to be a skeptic.
But as a believer yourself, right? Let me just ask this one last question.
No problem.
What do you think of these fortune telling, mediums, and people say that they can communicate with spirits and the spirits can tell you about your future and things like that. Do you believe in that?
If a spirit able to tell the future, why are you working like that in the first place? I mean, I know a lot of some people who are sensitive, able to tell if the spirit's around, who are able to communicate, but not in a way that people think like lottery numbers.
Yeah.
They're not able to do this one. I mean, I'm sure they can do, I guess, because you're diseased, you can probably just pop into those places and look at the numbers and then come back and tell you. But to be honest, I've never come across any spirits like able to like willingly do that or whatsoever. So no, I would say have faith in your own self. Like like if you really want that eagerly that such a number or fortune or whatsoever, just focus and like see what things comes into your mind, like your thoughts, straight thoughts. Because I've had spirits predict things happen here, like a lot of times. Things that like someone close is gonna die, like I just know. How I know is not because someone comes and tell me directly in the face, through dreams, through all sorts of interpretation that happens. Like being able to dissect and realize that what's lucid and what's not. When a spirit tries to tell you something and you realize, because usually people dream, wake up, you forget about it.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Right. So one of those things like having a dream journal, immediately wake up, jot down, and things like that. So it's better to cultivate your own sense rather than relying on a second or a third person to do that. No. So I don't believe in these kind of things, but I do believe in people being sensitive, being able to help others in a way where knowing what a spirit wants, things like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Arwin, for this very enlightening chat. I will not see. I cannot. How do I say? My perspective of the spirit world is now a little bit different.
Right.
I think I'm not as scared moving
Right.
forward
Yeah.
now.
So let's go something, Bel.
No, thank you.